So, you need a new business bank, and everyone's heard of U.S. Bank. But with more modern options out there, like startup bank accounts like Novo and Relay and North One, is it still worth choosing like a big name bank versus one of these up and comers? Well, in today's video, we're going to cover exactly what U.S. Bank business checking actually offers, how it compares to some of its more modern counterparts, and the key features you absolutely need to know before making your decision. So diving right into things, what is U.S. Bank business checking? Well, funny enough, U.S. Bank was actually the first business bank account that I ever set up for my very first business, probably close to 10 years ago now. And so I've got a very long history of working with U.S. Bank on the business side of things. So U.S. Bank, obviously one of the largest traditional banks in the U.S., but they also do offer digital first business banking, including online applications, mobile deposits, same-day payment tools, a bunch of useful stuff. My experience with U.S. Bank was pretty solid because when you are just getting started as a business owner, right, it helps to be able to sit down with someone and actually like talk things through. That's one of the things that a lot of these more modern platforms are lacking is you have no human interaction. So when opening the U.S. Bank business checking account, you actually get to go in person, sit down with someone, which, could be seen as a pro or a con. Maybe you don't want to sit down with that, 55-year-old business banker at your local U.S. Bank branch. But for me, at least, like that was a helpful thing when I was 18 years old and wanted to, learn a thing or two and ask someone some of the, dumb questions that I didn't really have the answers to. That's one of the places where U.S. Bank is really going to shine, because whenever I had a question, there was actually a human being whose phone number I had, who I could call and ask those questions to, which is something that you really do lose out on with a lot of these more modern platforms. And for some people, that's a pro. For some people, that's a con. And, with those physical branches, they've got them in over 25 different states. But with the online features, like you don't even need to do that with U.S. Bank at this point. But in my view, at least, it is something that's a pro, especially if you're just getting started with your business. Now, in 2025, U.S. Bank actually launched a new Business Essentials checking account, basically a revamped $0 per month package that includes unlimited digital transactions, built-in payment processing tools. And this is something that didn't even exist when I was with U.S. Bank. Like I was using some of their older, like higher tier accounts with more features, but also like transaction limits and minimum balances and things like that. So there's kind of like two sides to it, where U.S. Bank is now like actively competing with the digital first banks while also still offering more of the traditional approach. So you can kind of pick and choose which one you're kind of more interested in from that standpoint. Now, when it comes to some of the key features you're getting with U.S. Bank, first, obviously you've got that branch access as well as online access. So you're able to conduct your banking either from the comfort of your computer, the app on your phone, or actually going into a physical branch, which is something that most other banks don't offer. You're only going to get that online approach there. Now, when it comes to wire transfers, this is something that's going to be a little bit more expensive with U.S. Bank than some of the other options, right? Because with U.S. Bank, they're going to charge about $14 for every incoming domestic wire. So this isn't free by default, which it may be with some other providers. Also, mobile check deposit, super easy with U.S. Bank, straight from your phone. Some of that money is going to be available instantly, and then some of it's going to be available once that check settles. Also, you've got a lot of payment tools at your disposal. So U.S. Bank supports same-day ACH transfers, Zelle for Business, a variety of other faster services, though they're not tied to specific account tiers and might come with fees depending on what you're looking at, with wire transfers being the most expensive. Now, in terms of integrations, U.S. Bank, it's compatible with QuickBooks, Xero, most of your major accounting platforms, so you shouldn't run into any issues there. Pretty robust technology on the back end. Now, when it comes to the different checking accounts available, there's a few different options, right? First, they've got that Business Essentials checking that I mentioned, $0 per month. This is meant to more so compete with the Novo, Relay, North Ones of the world, where you've got unlimited digital transactions. That means ACH, debit, online payments. You're also able to get a free mobile card reader for accepting payments. So if you set up, pop-up shops or, sell at a farmer's market or something like that, you've got a free mobile card reader from U.S. Bank, so that's kind of nice. You've got same-day deposits on those card sales, which is super nice. I mean, that money's in your account basically immediately, which is a great option for, freelancers, startups, side hustlers, people who are doing pop-up shops, things like that. Now, if you want something a little bit more traditional, they've got their Gold business checking account. This comes in at $20 per month, which is waived and with a $10,000 average account balance. With this, we're getting more into the traditional business banking offerings. So here you're only getting 350 free transactions per month, and then 125 free cash deposit units per month, which equates to $12,500 per month that you can deposit in terms of cash. You're also able to earn interest on this account, but it's a very low APY on the order of magnitude of like 0.01%. So really nothing to write home about. If you're looking for APY, you're going to be better off elsewhere. You've also got some discounts on select banking services, but wires are still going to run you, $30 to $40 plus for outgoing, and then you've got $14 incoming. The next tier from there is the Platinum Business Checking Account, which comes in at $30 per month, but that's going to be waived with a $25,000 average account balance. We're going from 350 free transactions per month to 550 free transactions per month. We're going up to 250 free cash deposit units, equating to $25,000 per month. You're also able to earn interest here, but the APY is going to be really low. So if that's your priority, you're going to be way better off with something like North One, where you're able to earn up to 2.5% or even 3% APY on your funds, or something like Relay, where you can set up a business savings account and earn APY there on a much higher rate. One area that U.S. Bank does shine is in their customer service. So you're getting priority customer service, additional banking tools the higher up the tiers that you go. However, again, there's still no free wire. Domestic wires with U.S. Bank are going to cost $30 across the board, international ranging up to $75. All that said, who is U.S. Bank going to be best for? Well, if you're a business that wants both that online banking and the physical branches, U.S. Bank is a really, really solid option. Also, if you're handling a lot of cash or check payments regularly, you're going to want a bank that has physical branches. Trying to deal in cash with one of these virtual business accounts, it's a complete nightmare. You don't want to do that. Or if you're a business that wants that in-person support, that dedicated service, building an actual relationship, that's something you're going to get with U.S. Bank that you really wouldn't get with any other of these modern, banking platforms. One other thing to note is if you are a nonprofit or a specialty organization, U.S. Bank does offer nonprofit checking with up to 1,800 free annual transactions. So if that applies to you, could be a good thing to know. Let's talk about what you absolutely must be aware of before you decide whether or not to use U.S. Bank. Now, first, we touched on this a little bit, but wire transfer fees. So incoming and outgoing wires are not free with U.S. Bank. You're going to pay about $14 for incoming, anywhere from $30 to $75 for outgoing wires, depending on the method and the destination. Basically, the most you're going to pay for a wire transfer anywhere is with these traditional legacy banks. On top of that, the Gold and the Platinum account limits were actually recently upgraded. So with Gold, again, now you're getting 350 free transactions a month and $12,500 in cash deposits. With Platinum, that bumps to $550 and $25,000. But with both of those types of accounts, the interest you're going to be earning really, really low. So under 0.05% APY in most cases, not at all compelling. We're talking pennies, maybe dollars per year. And that Silver or Essentials tier does not earn any interest whatsoever. So let's talk a little bit more about how U.S. Bank compares to some of the other options on the market, so you can kind of get a sense of where it fits in, what's going to be right for you. Relay, that's what I now use personally. My trajectory was from U.S. Bank to Novo to Relay. With Relay, it's free, it's flexible, it's digital native, there's no monthly fees. You can make up to 20 different basically sub accounts within your business. You can have 20 different accounts with 20 different account numbers. Really convenient if you are, running a more complex business. You want to have a marketing budget, you want to have a, operations budget, a travel budget. Those can all exist separately. And you can have up to 50 different debit cards with spending controls. Really strong automations for teams. If you're trying to run profit first, Relay's the place to do it. I was trying to do profit first at U.S. Bank, complete nightmare. Would not recommend that at all. So if you are an online business, you want modern cash management, Relay's probably going to be a better option for you than U.S. Bank. One other option I mentioned earlier is North One. So North One is designed more for the solopreneur, small business. Where they really shine is in their budgeting tools and in their APY. So similarly to Relay, how you can open up different accounts, you can't quite do that with North One, but you can have different envelopes, which is useful for budgeting. And you can earn up to 3% APY on your funds in your checking account, which is pretty compelling. So you've also got same day ACH, a lot of strong integrations. Really, this is going to be a good option for solo founders, people wanting high APY. Or if you run an e-commerce company, they've got some cool e-commerce integrations as well. So with U.S. Bank, it's really like the person that wants that traditional modern blend where you can kind of get the best of both worlds, in a sense of like you can have that in-person banking relationship while you can still have those unlimited digital transactions. You can still deal in cash and checks. You can also like get loans from U.S. Bank. You can get a lot of other financial products for your business that like wouldn't be available through something like a Relay or a North One. And on top of that, they've also got pretty compelling sign-up bonuses a lot of the time. So currently it's up to $900 depending on the tier that you go for. So if you are a local business, a cash-based business that wants that full service banking, U.S. Bank could be a pretty solid spot for you to turn. And since I was using U.S. Bank, seems like they stepped it up a ton. Obviously, there's still the limitations of them being more of like a legacy old school bank, but if the pros outweigh the cons, could be a solid choice for you. And that sign-up bonus is pretty decent as well. So if you want to consider trying them out for yourself, feel free to use the link in the description below to snag that sign-up bonus and support the channel in the process. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.